Saturday at UFC 319, Khamzat Chimaev absolutely dominated Dricus Du Plessis in the grappling, and a lot of people were not happy about it. And in particular, the referee Marc Goddard was not happy about it. He was so unhappy that he blatantly tried to bail Dricus Du Plessis out late in the fight by standing the fight up twice, that we're going to check out in this video, because not only were those stand-ups particularly egregious to the point Marc Goddard should be investigated for trying to help a fighter during a fight, but that's not it. That's the majority of the discussion. When it comes to refereeing the UFC 319 main event, Khamzat Chimaev, Dricus Du Plessis, it's the stand-ups. But a lot of people are forgetting that Dricus Du Plessis brutally cheated over and over and over again with fence grabs, and Marc Goddard decided to do absolutely nothing. We are going to break it down play by play in this video, because somebody's got to say something. I feel like everyone's just going to gloss over it and forget about it. Some people are defending Marc Goddard in his stand-ups. By the way, we're going to check out a clip at the end of this video. Robert Whitaker speaking facts about Marc Goddard. Speaking facts that Goddard clearly wanted to give Dricus Du Plessis an opportunity to win after being dominated for the entire fight. So we'll check out that clip later. We'll also check out one person actively defending Marc Goddard. Anyway, let's jump into it. So here we are, round one, right around the 2-minute mark, minute 57 on the clock. I'm just going to kind of skip ahead a little bit in the sequences just to show you still images. I uploaded this video for my own personal reference, but it's already copyright, but I don't want to show you really any actual fight footage here. This is insane. So round one, Dricus already has his toes in the fence at the 2-minute mark, okay? We're going to skip ahead a little bit because Dricus continues to interlock his toes in the fence here. Look at this. Trying to escape the position here. Both feet have his toes interlocked in the fence, and Marc Goddard does absolutely nothing about it. We're in round one, okay? This wasn't the worst kind of fence grab throughout the fight, but right after this, again, we're going to skip ahead a little bit. This is the same round here. You are about to see one of the most egregious fence grabs I have ever seen. He grabs not only with his hand, interlocks all his fingers, he also grabs with both of his feet to grab on the fence to transition out of a dominant position, to try to transition out of a dominant position. And this was part of the reason that Dricus Du Plessis was able to get that scramble at the end of round one, where he still ended up on bottom again, but he shook Khamzat off for a second. Watch this. I'm just going to let it play very slowly. Look at this. Brutal fence grab there. Brutal fence grab there, just with his hand there, okay? Now I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Both his feet here in a second go in the fence. Both his feet go in here. Look at this. Look at this. They're not in that frame particularly. They're not in there. Let's see if we can get a frame that actually, yeah. Look, you can clearly see it right here. Marc Goddard, instead of taking a point, instead of doing anything, okay, this is only the first infraction, really. Not even, it's like the third already. But Marc Goddard just reaches down and kind of swats him away. Like, stop it, boys. Stop it, boys. His hand and both of his feet are inside the fence, using it to scramble out of a bad position in the fight, and Marc Goddard doesn't do a damn thing. And then, okay, so we're at a minute 19 here in the first round. Then later in the fight, Marc Goddard, right around this time, is screaming work to Khamzat Chimaev. And again, DDP has his feet in the fence, interlocking his toes in the fence here. I mean, this wasn't the most egregious. Obviously, in this position, he's not really able to do much. But he used his feet to get away from the fence by interlocking his hands and his toes in the fence. And now here he is again, 40 seconds later, 30 seconds later, he's doing the same thing again. Now let's skip ahead, okay? So the second round, nothing really happens in terms of cheating from Du Plessis or reffing work from Goddard. The third round, Goddard was yelling at Khamzat Chimaev at the 3-minute and 28-second mark, saying, you got to work, you got to work. He's immediately moving to the crucifix position and smashing down elbows. And he's telling him he has to work. And he was in a very dominant position doing damage, regardless of what some people want to say, acting like Khamzat didn't absolutely maul Dricus Du Plessis. But anyway, there wasn't really anything of note to watch on video from round three, so we're going to skip ahead to round four. So I want to show you guys this, because this is where it gets really, really bad. So in round four, at 3 minutes and 33 seconds, Khamzat Chimaev gets a takedown here, okay? Gets him down, slams Dricus to the ground here, takes him down, and eventually they end up in this position up against the fence, okay? Dricus works his way to the fence at 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and Marc Goddard is here screaming, complaining, bitching, and moaning about, you got to work. Look at him. I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. He's like going like this. You got to work. You got to work. He's on his back doing damage, throwing little shots. The second he screams, you got to work, eventually he pulls him away from the fence. Pulls him away from the fence and ends up in the crucifix position again. So we're at the 4th round with 2 minutes to go, okay? With 2 minutes to go. Let's skip ahead. There's no way Dricus brutally cheats to get out of this position, right? Look at this position. Look at this position of dominance. Look at this potential finishing position. Again, Dricus just trying to survive here, even though people are blaming Khamzat for being boring. Dricus trying to survive by sniffing Khamzat's dick and balls and trying to lock down on Khamzat's posture. How does he get out of this position, okay? Marc Goddard's complaining, you got to work, you got to work, you got to work. Khamzat, you got to work. How does Dricus potentially get out of this bad position here, okay? There's no way he definitely cheats again, right? There's no way. Look at this. Look at this right here. Look at his feet in the air. This is how his coach trains him. Put your ass in the air. There's no way he egregiously puts both of his feet's toes in the fence and cheats again here, right? Look at this. Marc Goddard's coming down again. He knows it. He sees it. He sees it with his own 2 eyes. Ignorance isn't a plea here, okay? Dricus uses this, look at this, to scramble out of the position. Goddard's trying to pull his toes out of the fence here. It's hard to see, but his toes were in the fence here brutally, and he's able to scramble out of the position that he was in, the worst position that he was in, and able to get to side control instead of the crucifix position he was in here where he's getting absolutely destroyed and absolutely dominated. And this, you can't really see it truly in the clip, but the way he pulls his back end over, the physics aren't possible without interlocking your toes in the fence, and Goddard does swat his feet away. But either way, he benefits from cheating because now he's out of this position and he's into an easier position in side control here, okay? Now, what's even crazier is he continues to grab the fence with his toes here, right? And nothing's done. Hold on, you'll see a little bit here in a second. Continues to push against the fence here with his toes, interlock his toes in the fence here. You can't really see it where I'm not 100% sure right there. But then look, again, more, okay? We're at 1 minute and 35 seconds, okay? Keep in mind that we're in side control right here. And again, he's interlocking his toes in the fence to try to cheat. Marc Goddard, is this clear as day? Could this be any more clear as day? Toes in the fence yet again. But they're in side control here. Now, I want to skip ahead because this is how biased this is. So look, skipping ahead, watch, toes are in the fence again. Look at the angle he's at. Look at this. Toes are in the fence. He's cheating repeatedly, dozens of times with his toes interlocked in the fence and not a point deduction. Nothing. Not Dricus said, look, Dricus, you got to stop. I'm going to put you in a worse position. You got to go back to the crucifix now. I know that would be unprecedented, but you get my point. Nothing done other than, hey, man, you can't do that. Oh, why don't you benefit from it anyway? But anyway, look, we're at 1 minute and 29 seconds, okay? We're at 1 minute and 29 seconds. We're in side control here. Now, in a second, he uses the toes in the fence to try to scramble again. Look, and I can't confirm 100% that his toes are interlocked in this position here, okay? But look, he uses the feet against the fence to transition, okay? Look here, in the fence right here, look, you can see, you see this black mark right here? That's the chain link in front of his toes because his toes are through the fence. So now this one looks like it's clean. You can't really tell the smaller toes. But again, using his toes in the fence, I'm repeating myself over and over and over again. It's egregious as anything. There should have been a point deduction for this. He tried to scramble out by cheating repeatedly, and Marc Goddard did absolutely nothing. But I want you to take account of these timestamps right here. We're at 3 minutes and 20 seconds, okay? We're in side control. Dricus cheats with his toes in the fence to end up giving up his back instead, okay? We're going to skip ahead here. He gives up his back. Khamzat cements the position at 1 minute and 13 seconds, okay? So from side control to back mount with 1 minute and 13 seconds left on the clock. When do you think Marc Goddard steps in here, okay? How much time in this particular position do you think Marc Goddard gave Khamzat Chimaev before he stepped in there? Let's take a look. Let's skip ahead. So we're at 1 minute and 13 seconds, okay, on the clock. When does Goddard step in? 1 minute and 2 seconds. He gave Khamzat 11 seconds in this position. You can say all you want that he had the position previously and this and that. That does not matter. In this particular instance, in the 4th round, he was only in this position for 11 seconds before Goddard decided, you know what, I'm going to stop it. And I know what the rules are. There's going to be people down in the comments, Joe, you need to know the rules, buddy. The rules are essentially, it's a very vague rule that if the fighter isn't trying to actively finish the fight, they can stand him up. Well, that's left up to the ref's discretion. And that could mean anything. Khamzat in this position was waiting for Dricus Du Plessis to make a mistake so he could latch up a rear naked choke. That's what he was doing here, okay? And Dricus Du Plessis was just sitting there trying to survive rather than actually try to get up. And he was just content losing his title because him and his coach just thought, oh, Khamzat's going to gas late because that's what all the pundits said. 11 seconds to stop this. 11 seconds before he gets in there and says, you know what? I'm going to break you guys up here. 11 seconds in the back mount position he gave Khamzat Chimaev before he stopped the ground attack and stood them back up to bail Dricus Du Plessis out. Okay, now let's skip ahead here. Okay, because later in the 5th round, we're going to jump ahead to the 5th round now. Dricus Du Plessis ends up getting a reversal and ends up on top of Khamzat Chimaev, okay? About 2 minutes and 30 seconds, okay? Remember 11 seconds. So that would be, what, 2 minutes and 19 seconds of Dricus Du Plessis on top doing absolutely nothing, by the way? Let's check it out. Let's just check it out here. Let's skip ahead a little bit. Laying on top of him. Up here he is at 216, still laying on top of him. That would be 14 seconds. What? Dricus did absolutely no damage from here. Not a single shot, nothing. In half guard, just laid here doing absolutely nothing. 11 seconds for Chimaev, who, by the way, did not cheat the entirety of the fight, did not grab the cage 150 times like Dricus Du Plessis did without being penalized. Now, he is for 14 seconds laying here doing nothing. You guys doubt me? Look, you guys tell me, look, here's 228. Okay, look, I gave you guys the timestamps, okay? You guys tell me, okay? Finally, Khamzat decides to try to build back up in the 5th round. We're at 2 minutes and 16 seconds, and this is when Dricus goes for the guillotine here, finally goes for the guillotine. And Khamzat ends up on top and really cements the position. Hold on, let me skip back a little bit. Cements the position about 2 minutes and 13 seconds, okay? Now, in this position, for 30 seconds, Dricus had closed guard just sitting there surviving. And Khamzat was throwing shots from guard. They weren't the most damaging shots. They weren't like fight-ending shots by any means, but Dricus had his guard closed for 30 seconds. So at 2 minutes and 13 seconds is when Khamzat ends up on top. Then we skip ahead. 1 minute and 26 seconds left. In a 5-round fight, in a title fight, Marc Goddard thinks it's appropriate to stand them up. This was as blatant as favoritism can ever get. He said, you know what? Khamzat's dominated him here. Let's see if we can bail Dricus out. Let's see if we can throw him a lifeline. And let's see if we can stand them up. Okay? Now, granted, this was a little bit more time. This was a little bit more understandable. But you have to take into account circumstances. In a 5-round domination where they just had that transition where Dricus ended up on top and then they went for submission, then Khamzat ends up on top. Now you're giving them 40 seconds after a 5-round fight. And now you're going to stand them up just in hoping and praying that somehow Dricus Du Plessis can win a Hail Mary here. I mean, this was absolutely egregious. Khamzat couldn't believe it. Look at him. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And the shots he was throwing from guard were actually decent. So Marc Goddard here, completely and utterly egregious. Horrible reffing, an embarrassment to reffing. And I was going to, in this video, I was going to pull up other instances where Marc Goddard's been a horrible fucking referee. You know, like the Sean O'Malley, Aljamain Sterling stoppage, egregious, horrible stoppage. You have the Cedric Dombey fight where something was in the cage, like had been thrown in the cage. There was some type of glass in the cage. He got glass in his foot. He tried to tell Marc Goddard that there was glass in his foot. Marc Goddard got shitty with him. He continued to try to tell Marc Goddard he had glass in his foot. Then he just tried to fight with the glass in his foot, but he was complaining about it. And then Marc Goddard stepped in and said TKO. Because Marc Goddard's a dumb fuck. A dumb fuck. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of these referees have like this authoritarian complex where they got this big ego. Like, how dare you talk back to me? How dare you question my authority? That's what Marc Goddard is. Marc Goddard has a big ego. He thinks he knows everything. He runs his little refereeing school. He's an ass referee. And the fact that in the 5th round, it was running through his mind, how can I bail out Dricus Du Plessis here? How can I stand them up and pray that somehow Dricus Du Plessis pulls off a fluke KO? Because in Marc Goddard's mind, he was like, Khamzat's the most tired here. He's been grappling him for 5 rounds. Let me try to stand him up and give Dricus an opportunity to win a Hail Mary. 2 times. Never did it in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Decides to do it in the 4th and 5th. The 4th when he has back position. 5th round, more understandable from full guard. But he does this. He penalizes Khamzat for stalling. But where was the penalties for Dricus repeatedly grabbing the fence with his toes and hands? I mean, he was going knuckle deep. The coach, Morn Visser, was jealous of how knuckle deep Dricus was going in that fence with his hand. especially in the first round, to get out of bad positions. There was no penalties for it. But somehow, you know what? A minute left. Think about the context of that. A minute left, a minute and 20 seconds left. A guy dominating in the grappling. The other guy has absolutely no answers for it. And now he's starting to get tired, and we're going to stand up the fight. This was as clear as day a bias as I have ever seen it. This was as clear as day to me that Marc Goddard was trying to give Dricus Du Plessis an opportunity to win this fight. And there's some people defending him, which we're going to get to in a second. But also, I was curious, had Marc Goddard made any public statements since his abysmal reffing performance at UFC 319? Again, guys, I mean, there was no penalty. There's no penalty for any of this fence grabbing. Look at this. Look at this brutal fence grabbing here. No penalty for this. No, absolutely nothing for this. Okay? No penalty for this. But you know what? You know what? You have the back for 11 seconds here. Let me stop you. Okay? But I was curious, did Marc Goddard have anything to say publicly? And I click on his Twitter. I don't think I've ever tagged Marc Goddard in anything. Marc Goddard has me blocked. So you know what? Marc Goddard is a little bitch. I mean, I don't really care at all. It doesn't really matter, but I just thought that was funny. He did not say anything publicly. He just poses, you know, for his photos, you know, thinking he's a Billy Badass. He's the best referee. Can't wait till he gets fired for being an absolute bum of a referee. I mean, to try to impact a championship level fight, a championship level domination, the only reason every single round should have been a 10-8, the only reason the fifth round was not a 10-8 was because Marc Goddard stepped in and injected himself into the fight. I swear he likes to inject himself into fights. He wants to be a celebrity. And that's exactly what he tried to do in this fight. But also, for whatever reason, he was getting mad. He was like, man, I don't want Khamzat to win this fight. I need Khamzat to lose this fight. So he never penalizes Dricus Du Plessis at all. But he penalizes Khamzat for grappling and I guess not trying to finish the fight from back mount, which is really left up to interpretation. That's a lot of interpretation there. And some people are actually defending this. Luke Thomas is defending this. So this guy, Eric, is like some lawyer. He goes over the actual rule, which essentially the referee has the discretion to stand up the fight if you're not actively trying to finish the fight. Again, that's very, very subjective. Someone on your back for 11 seconds, we're going to stand them up and say, oh, well, they weren't trying to finish. I mean, that can be so subjective. You get into such a gray territory. You could stand the fight up after every single fight. You could stand up. You could stand up Yuri versus Glover, okay? It's very, very subjective. Marc Goddard's stand-up in the Khamzat DDP fights were well within the rules. Anyone telling you otherwise is simply wrong. It's within the rules, but it's a very vague rule. And people are defending this, acting like he should have done it more. It's the people who are ultimate casuals, and they didn't like that Khamzat grappled. Oh, no. Oh, no. Khamzat grappled him. I don't want to see grappling. I'm a fucking casual. That's essentially what people are doing. I literally may make another video about people calling Khamzat boring after this performance. There's so much endless content to do. One person that actually called this out was Robert Whitaker. And he called it to a T. He called it to a T. I know there's going to be some people saying I'm crazy. Marc Goddard showing favoritism for Dricus Du Plessis. Robert Whitaker saw it himself. He saw it himself. Listen to this, and I'll link this down in the description if you care to go check it out.
He couldn't get up. Okay, hats off to Chimaev for that. Never gave up on himself. You could hear it in the corner. You could hear it. You see it in that fifth round when the ref, this is the second thing I want to talk about, terrible stand-up. Okay, like he just wanted to give Dricus a chance to throw bombs. Man,
that's exactly what he wanted to do. Anyone that believes otherwise is completely delusional. He wanted to give Dricus a chance. He was hoping for a viral moment. He injected himself into the fight to try to create a viral moment. With 1 minute and 20 seconds left, Robert Whitaker calls it out perfectly here.
You can't do... He's controlled, at this point, 22 minutes of ground time in the match. And you stand him up when he's at his most tired to give... You can't do that, man. But not once. Not twice. Just once. Dude, twice.
Yeah.
And he even broke him up when he was on the wall. Chimaev's best position. That was terrible in my opinion.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Khamzat's best position is up against the fence on your back, which he has finished many fights from. So you're going to tell me Marc Goddard from 11 seconds in that position, decided he's not going to finish. He's not going to finish here. And he said, let's break him up. Completely and utterly egregious. Let's skip ahead another clip here, because he even says, look, Marc Goddard, Dricus' friend, wanted to bail him out here. Listen to this.
3 seconds.
No downs.
This was the tone of the entire fight. And yes, in the last round, Dricus at least managed to get some shots. I think that's when they were.
But that was because his best mate gave him a hand. Like,
you're right.
But the thing is, it's like, I don't understand why you would stand him up if he's done it for 22 minutes of the entire fight. It's not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not like one dude was just taking him down to wait. No, he's been doing this from the first 20 seconds of the fight, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That blows my mind. Like, he just gave Dricus a shot twice, a chance. And Dricus looked dangerous in those moments too.
There you go. Marc Goddard wanted to give Dricus an opportunity to win. Why didn't he do it in the first 3 rounds? Okay. Now, granted, he shouldn't have done it in the first 3 rounds, but why didn't he do it in the first 3 rounds? Oh, he was probably hoping, Dricus, Marc Goddard bought the narrative. Oh, Dricus, if he can weather the early storm, he'll win late. But then once he realized it wasn't happening, he said, you know what? I got to stop him in the 4th round. I got to do something. I will not be able to sleep at night unless I interject myself into this fight. That's exactly what he did here, because he's a shit biased ref who wanted to go out of his way to interject himself into a fight. And meanwhile, I'll say this for the 150th time in this video, he never penalized Dricus Du Plessis once for fence grab after fence grab after fence grab. So you guys tell me. And you have people out there defending him. Marc Goddard is getting worse by the day. Every single event, I feel like a lot of these refs are just getting worse and worse and worse because there's no actual accountability. There's never any accountability. He should be investigated and fired after that performance at UFC 319. He tried to bail Dricus Du Plessis out. He tried to throw him a lifeline. He was hoping to create a viral moment. He was hoping Dricus would somehow come back and win via Hail Mary KO, and it ultimately didn't happen. But the only reason Dricus Du Plessis had any moment in that 5th round was because of Marc Goddard. Because of Marc Goddard interjecting himself into a fight. Since when do we want referees putting themselves in a situation where they can try to affect the outcome of a fight? That is a slippery slope, and I think Marc Goddard needs to be fired from the Athletic Commission. He should never ref another fight again, or bare minimum, he should be penalized, okay? Why are people allowed to grab the fence repeatedly, and there's no point deduction, there's nothing, there's no penalty for it? But then the guy who's dominating, the fight's basically already over. You damn near could have already stopped it from the crucifix positions, regardless of damage, because was Dricus, was he intelligently defending himself at any position when he was in those crucifix positions? No, he wasn't. So you could have arguably stopped it there, but now you just want to stand him up at the last second to hope and pray that Dricus Du Plessis somehow pulls it off. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for watching.